The plot obviously revolves around a miracle blue mushroom, that when eaten can cure anything. Why a blue mushroom?
Well, mushrooms are very interesting and weird, and I don't think we've begun to know everything about them. There are some that'll kill you, and some that are delicious, and some that make you have strange mental experiences. And so it seemed like close to plausible that a mushroom could have this much power.
I'm Russ Melheim. Thank you for talking to me today about the show. I'm with the
Pleasure.
direct.
Nice to meet you.
Now, this is a crazy, zany show. Great work on it. It's very, very unique.
Thank you.
And I enjoyed the first four episodes that I got to see. My first question for you guys is just when approaching this series, what was your mission statement?
Ooh, cool question. Well, I think we wanted to say something about the way the world is in 2025. We wanted it to be real and natural and feel honest and true. We wanted it to be funny, but with the comedy coming out of the real ways that people behave and not feel scripted and written. We wanted the characters to really come to life. We wanted it to be an animated show that animation fans would be into, but it would also appeal to people who like Succession and Breaking Bad and the cool, prestige kind of shows that are out there. And we just wanted to express something of this crazy thought experiment of if people had a mushroom that could cure almost anything, what would happen? Who would be after them? Where would it take us? And be true to that. And we felt that if we did that, we'd make something that was funny and exciting and compelling.
For both of you, what were some of the, and you kind of went over this a little bit, but what were some of the key elements you wanted to make sure you baked into this series that aren't really in other adult animated shows?
I think, I think one part was just leaning into the naturalism and thinking about not only the way that the characters are talking to each other and that sort of thing, but even the kind of like their postures, their poses, just feeling natural. They're setting up certain scenarios, situations that feel a little bit more real and grounded. Which it takes a lot of work and a lot of research. It's all really fun stuff, but yeah, it was a challenge, and I think to use the acting as a good example. I think a lot of the actors were kind of used to doing something that sounds a little bit more rehearsed, and for us to kind of be like, well, no, we want you to kind of like just use your own voice, your own natural voice. Like I think that was a big kind of goal of ours, and wanted to lean into that as much as possible.
Yeah, like not making cartoony is sort of a bad word for us, even though we love a lot of cartoons, but like to making just like have that little stumbly, rough quality that real life has, and if to try and get that into an animated show seemed like a cool challenge.
Now, there are heavy messages and themes woven throughout the show. How did you work to maintain that balance of still making sure that it didn't, feel too preachy or take away from the humor too much?
We did not another thing, we just did not want this to feel like kind of a soapboxy kind of a show. This is not a PSA um, we wanted to kind of show all different angles and all different sides and make this sort of as multi-dimensional as possible and have, with all the characters, for instance, there are you could call them villains, but people that make bad decisions, but ultimately are people, and there are many sides to them. And I think we that was a really important thing to kind of go back to, that we felt like, it was sort of our anchor in the show.
Yeah, I mean, big pharma as this bad, it's warping that companies make profit off medicine, but on the other hand, like who isn't happy to have penicillin and medicine for when you're really sick? It's so like to see both sides and try and get the whole richness of it was a goal for us.
The plot obviously revolves around a miracle blue mushroom, that when eaten can cure anything. Why a blue mushroom?
Well, mushrooms are very interesting and weird, and I don't think we've begun to know everything about them. There are some that'll kill you, and some that are delicious, and some that make you have strange mental experiences. And so it seemed like close to plausible that a mushroom could have this much power. As for blue, just kind of visually interesting and exciting. And in the show, there's a little bit of backstory on how this mushroom evolved and came to be. And it just seemed like we wanted to indicate visually that this is something special and new that no one has seen before, and that Marshall, our main character, discovers in this strange place as he's on this quest to try and find the weird cures that might still be out there.
And I think that mushrooms in particular have always kind of been sort of written off as like sort of fringe alternative kind, kind of medicine. And so, and a lot of the characters that these people from that we've been referencing in the past have all kind of have this, like, they're a little bit of like a pariah in the science community. They're not sort of taken seriously or whatever. I think that was another part of why it was like, okay, a mushroom makes sense as opposed to, a nut or something like that.
Yeah. They've been around for longer than like plants, and
Oh
who
yeah,
knows where they
exactly.
came from, and the way they reproduce is very odd, and they're just they're sort of mysterious, and they appear a lot in mythology, probably for these reasons.
Aliens are coming from the ocean and not space, so it all makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah. Were there any other variations considered, or whether it be a red mushroom, or like what were the design process of that? What were maybe some other options that were close but didn't make the cut?
Well, there might be more to come on that, Russ.
Huh?
We'll just
Okay, all
see.
right. A good little tease for the future. I like it. I like it. Uh, when watching, when they eat the mushroom, there's this really cool tripping scene. Every time it's used. Like, can you talk about, designing that and figuring out how that was going to look on screen?
Yeah, I mean, we were sort of cherry picking from a lot of different things. One part of it was one of the first hangs I had with Steve was went to his. He has a spot in Joshua Tree, right along the park, and it's it has that like desert terrain, and I think that was a big influence on it. Um, and then also just kind of like trying to do something a little original with the sort of psychedelic approach to it all, and being, I guess, trying to be careful about not doing anything super cliche, and not avoiding the sort of tie-dye kind of, direction, and doing something on its own. But yeah, a lot of those like little motifs and the shapes and all that stuff was, I don't know, just random exploration. We pulled it from a lot of different things.
Yeah. Now, the story follows Marshall and Francis, two former high school lab partners. Can you talk about casting both the perfect voices for those characters and also the challenge of crafting kind of the best duo you could on a narrative level?
Yeah, Dave, who plays Marshall, is a guy I've known for a long time, and he's not really he's done some acting, but he's not really a professional actor. But he just had the right kind of voice. Joe had heard him talk quite a few times. We have a podcast that we do together, so Joe had heard him a lot. And then Emily Pendergast, who plays Frances, I'd worked with on Veep, and she just has like a very natural, like a real down to earth kind of sweethearted quality that didn't feel acting-y. And we tried out tons of other people, and a lot of them were really great. But just like trying to make these characters come to life with a vulnerability and a sensitivity and a range to them, they were just the right people to embody the designs that Joe had created.
Another part of it too is just that, um, finding a lot of these actors, we would, just because we were really trying to get them to do their natural voices, a lot of the times during the casting process, we would sort of look up, instead of watching them play roles in certain movies, we'd watch interviews about them talking about the movies, just to really get a sense. And I think that Emily was so, it was so easy for her to kind of like do that sort of natural, and same with Dave. It's just kind of they could get into this kind of like natural flow and have that sort of natural cadence that we were looking for. So it made it really easy.
I want to throw in an unrelated question here, Steve. You did briefly you mentioned Veep, which you co-executive produced the kind of last two seasons of that show. I wanted to ask, given today's political climate, how badly are you itching to start up a revival of that series one day?
It's funny. I was thinking about a political show the other day, and I was talking to somebody about it, and they were like, "Nobody wants to think about this right now. Are you kidding?" And a lot of
Yes.
this stuff, I don't know if you remember, but in late seasons of Veep, like Jonah Ryan caused a pandemic, and he tried to change daylight savings time, and then like things that have become reality.
Yeah.
So it might be a little too close to the bone at the moment. Veep made sense in a world where politicians were at least supposed to like behave, and if they were being outrageous, they would get in trouble. And it seems like we moved way past that. So
Yeah.
the next iteration of Veep will have to be way more outlandish and wild.
That's fair. That's fair. Now back to kind of the show at hand. How confident are you guys in a season two? And what is kind of the larger game plan for the show? How many, like, are you hoping for multiple seasons? Do you have an end goal set? Whether you want to share that specifics or not, but do you have like a
We
bigger plan?
we don't have like a specific roadmap or anything, but we have a lot of these characters, and the situations have led us to a pile of rich and exciting ideas that we hope we get to explore. And I don't want to say we're super confident in the season two, but I think that people will like the show and respond to it, and hopefully want to see some more of it.